Hello, hello out there.
out there.
Let me know that you guys
Let me
can
know
hear
that you
me
guys
well
can
and
hear
there's
me
no
well
echo in
and
the
there's no
background.
echo in the background.
Put a thumbs up if
Put a thumbs up if
everything is
everything
good.
is good.
And if you
And
can
if
hear
you
me,
can hear me,
okay.
okay.
Echo.
Echo.
So you are
So
hearing
you
the
are
echo
hearing
right
the
now.
echo right
Okay,
now.
so give me
Okay,
a
so give me
second.
a second.
I thought I
I thought I
quilled that.
quilled
Okay,
that.
let me know
Okay,
now.
let me know
Echo.
now. Echo.
Let me know
Let
if
me
there's
know
still
if
an
there's still
echo.
an echo.
Hello.
Hello.
Alicia, thank you for
Alicia, thank you
joining.
for
Candace,
joining.
thank you for
Candace, thank you
joining.
for
Let me
joining.
know
Let me
if there
know
is an
if there is
echo
an
still.
echo still.
Because it was
Because it
working
was
just
working just
fine.
fine.
Hello?
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 Okay, let's
Okay,
let me know
let
if
me
you
know
still
if
hear
you
an
still
echo.
hear an echo.
Thank you for
Thank you
joining,
for joining,
Liera.
Liera.
Hey.
Hey.
Liera, let me
Liera,
know
let
if,
me know
okay,
if,
still
okay,
echo.
still echo.
Let me know
Let
now
me
if
know
there's
now
an
if
echo.
there's an echo.
Let me try
Let
without
me
the
try without the
headphones. You gotta
headphones.
say
You
more.
gotta say more.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello.
hello,
Let me know
hello. Let me
now
know
if there is
now if
still an
there is still an
echo
echo
before we get
before we get
started.
started.
And thank you
And
guys
thank
for
you
coming
guys
in
for coming
early,
in
jumping in
jumping
early,
in
letting me
early,
know what's
letting me know
going
what's
on.
going on.
Thank you for
Thank you
jumping
for
in the
jumping in
chat,
the
letting me
chat,
know
letting
we'll
me
get it
know we'll get
together.
it together.
Yes, okay,
Yes,
it's better
okay,
now.
it's better
No
now.
echo.
No echo.
All right, if
All
you're
right, if
new
you're
and if you're
new and if you're
just jumping
just jumping
in,
in,
go ahead
go
and
ahead
drop
and
where you're
drop where
from
you're
in the
from in the
chat.
chat.
Go ahead and
Go
drop
ahead
where
and
you're
drop where you're
jumping in
jumping in
from the
from
chat.
the chat.
Where are you
Where are
at from
you at
around the
from
country
around the
or
country or
around the
around
world?
the world?
Hi,
Hi,
Alicia. Kansas
Alicia.
is sweet.
Kansas is sweet.
Liera Parks.
Lyra Parks.
Still Ghost Echo. I don't know what
Still
that's
Ghost
from. Hold on.
Echo. I don't
Okay,
know
so
what
I'm gonna
that's from.
try
Hold on.
something
Okay, so I'm
else.
gonna
Hey
something
LG,
else.
I'm gonna
Hey
try
LG,
something
I'm
else,
gonna
and you
try
guys let
something
me know
else,
if
and
you
you
still
guys
hear
let me know if you still hear
echo.
echo.
I don't know where
I don't
that
know
is coming
where
from.
that is
Let me
coming
see.
from. Let me see.
Because I have done
Because I have done
everything from beautiful
everything from
Florida,
beautiful Florida,
excellent.
excellent.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Let me know now.
Let me
How
know
is it?
now. How
Are
is
we
it? Are we
Hotlanta? I love
Hotlanta?
it.
I love it. I'm doing some controlling here. I don't know. We didn't have this on the first night. I'm not sure why it's still here, but I'm ready to get into these cases because tonight is all about the ladies. You know, Thursday was traditionally ladies' night, so we're going to jump into the cases for the ladies tonight. Dirty South, Georgia Peach. I hear you. All right.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
This equipment is
Ohio. Hey, Ohio. That's what's up. We actually have a case coming out of Columbus, Ohio that I'm excited to share. But first, I need to know if we still have an echo, guys. So let me know if that echo is still there. I'm playing around with some things. Good evening. Hi, T. Fletcher. Good evening, T. Fletcher. One of my day ones. Let me know if you hear echo, if we're good now, or if there's an echo. I'm trying out a few things. Okay, so I'm gonna keep talking here. It's about time. Is it good now? So are you saying it's good now? Oh, are you?
A slight echo
just turned the...
Oh, anyway.
Okay, so we're going to keep going. I don't know where that echo is coming from, but I've adjusted, readjusted. You can't turn it off. Let me see. And I'm going to tell you something. It works perfectly fine when when I'm not using all of this audio. All right. Slight echo. You said, well, let me try to turn it all the way down. Let's do this. I need a thumbs up right now. How am I sounding? Is the sound good? Can you hear me at all? Testing, testing. It might be a little vampire music. We're setting the tone. We're setting the scene. So come on up here. No, I need the feedback on the live. I need the feedback. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so tonight's conversation, let me turn down my vampire music. Tonight's conversation is going to challenge some assumptions, because when people typically hear the word crime, most minds go in one direction, y'all. One direction. When you hear about a crime, it goes in one direction. But tonight, the suspects are all women. Mothers, caregivers, women sitting in living rooms, women sitting in hospitals, women in spaces we associate with nurturing, not violence. But we're going to get into it. So that's why these cases disturb people differently. Not because of what allegedly happened, but because who allegedly did it. Now, I want to kick it off with a little question. Do women get more sympathy in criminal cases? Yes or no? Do women typically get more sympathy in criminal cases? So type it in the chat. Let me know yes or no. Okay, they used to, but I need to hear from you. Do they typically get more sympathy in criminal cases? Okay, I see a hell no. I see yes. All right. Okay, so, I guess, and that's why these cases are so disturbing, because when you think about a mother creating crimes against a child, or someone creating crimes against children, it can get, pretty crazy out here to think that they would be getting lesser charges. There's something about female offenders that makes the public pause. Like, for real? She did this? And so sometimes they're minimized, like their crimes are minimized, and sometimes they're sensationalized, especially if you have a certain aesthetic, if you look beautiful. Think about the women who committed crimes against their children, and we know we can name a few that just come to mind. If those women have a certain aesthetic, normally they get a little leniency. All right, so tonight we're asking the question, are we shocked because of the crime or because a woman committed it? So I want you to keep that thought in the back of your head. Are you shocked about the crime or because a woman committed it? Because we know here on Crime Time with Dr. Deidre that because every story has a moment when it goes too far. And tonight we're breaking down those moments, the escalation, the psychology, the environment, without excuses and without stereotypes. So let's get into it. So our first case, let me put this. Our first case tonight comes out of Illinois. It is a care provider who actually served children laxatives, told them it was candy, and served the children laxatives. And the children had, of course, side effects from that. So she gave the children laxatives. She wanted them to go home early because she was overwhelmed. Now, I would think that that would have the adverse effect because they're going to be using the bathroom all over the place. Why would you give children laxatives and think that that's going to make your job easier? But nonetheless, she did. I'm just moving a few things out of the way. So let me get this so I can give you guys the details. We can break this story all the way down. All right, so I'll start. Oh, you're seeing things on the screen. I'm going to start giving you the breakdown of the case, and I'm going to try to get this picture back up here. All right, daycare teacher allegedly gave laxatives to multiple toddlers. Children experienced severe diarrhea and medical distress. The incident was uncovered after parents noticed symptoms and reported the concerns. The teacher is now facing criminal charges, and what I read from this case, she actually was able to be bonded out, and she will come back and have several proceedings that she will have to attend to based on this case. So, you know, this wasn't negligence. This wasn't, you know, I'm just gonna do something and think that, you know, nothing's going to happen. This wasn't funny. This was nothing that should have been taken lightly. The daycare workers are entrusted with our children. And think about the nonverbal children or the pre-verbal children. Think about, you know, children that are, you know, 1 and 2 that really can't express their feelings and talk about what has happened to them. So think about those children. And then how do parents truly vet caregivers when the options are so limited? And I know, having dealt with children in childcare, in the childcare industry, parents, workers, all of that, it is a high turnover industry. However, to give children laxatives as if they were candy and have all of these adverse effects that happen to the children. Now think about children with developmental delays, children that have allergies to certain things. Like, this is a really bad situation. We're not even going to talk about the legalities of it because we know there's going to be some legalities. However, just think about just the effects. That's not going to make your job easier to give children laxatives. But are background checks enough? Do you think the background checks are enough? Because we all know, well, at least you should know that if you're working in any environment, childcare center, school, there is a level 2 background check that goes on. But is that enough? Should we be talking to neighbors and family members? Is it enough? Yeah, she was wrong. Yeah, well, she was very wrong. I like that. She ain't shit. No, I agree. Yeah, so let me get that back up here. Give me just 1 second. So we have a lot of cases that deal with a lot of shit tonight. So we'll get into those. Yeah, I agree. The more kids to change, but normally in a daycare, if a child is experiencing excessive diarrhea, they have to be sent home. That's one of the laws that most child care centers follow, that, you know, if things like this happen, parents are called and they're sent home. And I think that was her intention. Allegedly, that was her intention. She was overwhelmed. But if the children were experiencing that, they would go home. But you would think, but just think in the mind, you know, think about your regular job. If you work somewhere and people are experiencing nausea and all of that, you say, oh, well, there's something floating in the air. There's something going around. So in a school, it's not uncommon for children to pass along viruses or germs. And so a whole class could have symptoms like diarrhea. And I assume that's what she was thinking, that this would go under the radar, unnoticed, and that the children would just have diarrhea, they would be sent home, and everyone would think it's a virus. Yeah, she wanted to send of course, that was her motive, to send the children home. Yeah, so. All right. Now, let me ask you, should there be stricter monitoring inside of daycare classrooms? A lot of times there's no cameras. What do you think about that? Should there be stricter monitoring inside of daycare classrooms? I say yes. Every child care classroom should have cameras. And I do. And most times you find that maybe 1 or 2 cameras are working. No, all cameras should be operable in a daycare setting, in a child care setting. Okay, so you want to see the pic. Let me get the pic. Let me just have the pic. While I'm adding the pic, let me jump in here. I have another question. I need everyone to put in the chat if you're just joining us. Let me know where you're joining from. And also, how could this have been prevented? How could this have been prevented? One word in the chat. How could this have been prevented? And I'll get the image back up. Monitoring, most definitely. We heard that. What else? Because I could only imagine. And then think about it. How many of you have gotten a call if you have children on this chat, or if you know someone? How many of you have gotten a call and said, oh, your child is sick, they're having diarrhea? You may have gotten that call. And now it leaves you thinking, could it have been a child care worker? Could someone have given your child a laxative? All right, so here is the child care worker, and she looks fairly young. But then let's also talk about the legalities for the child care center, because they're going to be a bunch of parents, or at least the parents that were impacted, who are going to want to sue, and you can't blame them. So not only has she caused children harm, she has caused harm to whoever's business this is. She has now caused harm to the business because of her criminal ways. Yeah, bags checked, and a lot of that's a good one, because I know some child care centers where bags had to be checked in. You had to lock your things up. There was a locker assigned, and you had to lock your purses up, because that was another thing. When purses are down, children can get access to your medication or whatever you have in your purse. Yeah. Oh, you. Yeah, no medicine should be brought into the facility. I mean, if you bring it into the facility, it should always be locked. And even for children who had EpiPens and asthma inhalers, all of those things were locked up. They were secure. But for the workers, if you bring a purse into a child care center or a bag, it should always be locked up, or it should never be accessible to children. But in this case, there definitely should be cameras. And I'm assuming that's how, or it could have been one of the children. These children were around 2 years old. I don't know if they had the communication skills. However, someone may have seen this on a camera and reported it, or she may have told someone, which a lot of times people who are committing these acts do. They tell someone they think is funny, they think is cute, because they're hurting children. All right, so we're going to move on from that story. But yeah, so that happened in Illinois, and sad story, but parents are about to get paid based on one person's stupidity and cruelty against children. All right, so this next case, let me check the comments for me. It should be checked in and monitored. Yeah, I agree. All right, this next case is a pretty sad case. This gentleman was looking for an opportunity. He was a barber, and we know sometimes the life of a barber, things might be slow. You might need, some additional income, and that was his angle. He was actually just trying to, do the best he could, finding a job, met a woman online. And it turns out that the woman was a scammer, and his body was found in a trash can. So let me get that back up. Give me just 1 second. But the story is, he left his home in Massachusetts and ended up in South Carolina in a garbage bin. Reports are saying that for an opportunity, he met a lady online. He was looking to try to, employment. And one of the things that I always say, you can be grown. That's fine. You're grown. However, you gotta let someone know where you're going. It's okay to chase opportunities. It's okay to, look for ways to improve your income. However, you gotta be able to let people know where you're going, and you gotta feel comfortable going places where strangers may be, but also giving your location. And in this case, family didn't know where he was. Boston, Massachusetts area is a long way from South Carolina, but he was on his grind. He was trying to do better for himself. So, young man, 32 years old, and just 1 second, I'm gonna pop the image up, and of course, prayers go out to the family for this young man, just trying to get it. And this, so let me talk about this. Allegedly, she was involved in this crime against this young man, and she's one of 12. So there was a scam, apparently a criminal ring, and she was one of the accessories to his murder. So she was involved in it as well. And so to put him in a trash can like he was trash, hopefully if she is convicted and she took a part in this crime, she deserves everything that she gets. Yeah, you should always have someone with you if you're going this far, or just let someone know where you're going. Let a loved one know where you're going. Just don't say, okay, I'm going out here. But again, let's take it from this angle. Maybe it was one of those things where it was too good to be true, and he wanted to take advantage of the opportunity and not let anyone know. What do you guys think? That he thought, hey, I need to get in on this. I don't really want to tell anybody what I'm doing. Let me know in the comments. Do you share your location with a loved one? Drop in the comments if you share your location with a loved one. Because again, that could have saved his life if he had just let someone know where he was going. Yeah, so this is another image of him. A young man, 32 years old, just starting his life, just trying to look for opportunities, just trying to hustle. And apparently he thought it was a job opportunity. So who knows if he took a weapon. Yeah, that's good. Alicia says she shares her location. All right. It is pretty sad. But yeah, just somebody looking to do good for himself. And now he's gone because someone decided they wanted to scam. And how many scam calls do you get? How many scam opportunities? You see them online all of the time. All right. So that is, so think about that. Share your location. Let someone know where you're going and have someone check in on you. It's okay. We can't live our lives thinking, no, I got to run for this opportunity. This is, if it sounds good to be true, if it sounds too good to be true, most of the time, all of the time, 99% of the time, it is too good to be true. So leave it there, move on. So that you don't become a victim. But if you decide to go, let somebody know where you're going. Let someone know. A lot of times it's hard. I know people try to stay to themselves, don't want anyone in their business, but this is not the time. All right. So this is another woman involved in a crime. So now we're going to do I have another question, another poll question, chat question. Put it in the chat. All right. So this is the ABCD. So get ready. You got to think on this one. Which shocks you more? A woman planning to harm someone, because when a woman is planning, some vicious things can come out of that, especially a woman scorned. So, A, woman planning harm. B, a woman snapping in the moment. C, a mother turning violent. Or D, a woman hiding abuse in plain sight. All right, so I'll say them again. Which shocks you more? A woman planning harm, a woman snapping in the moment, a mother turning violent, or a woman hiding abuse in plain sight? That is D. So A, woman planning harm. B, a woman snapping in the moment. C, a woman turning violent. Or D, a woman hiding abuse in plain sight. Go ahead, put in the chat. One, A, B, or C. And please don't do me like the students do me. What was C? What was A? Just put in a letter. All right, Candace says A woman planning harm. It is nothing like a woman on a mission and planning some things, especially if she is planning to hurt you. Woo! Okay. What is that? Tyler. Oh, everyone's saying a woman planning harm. Not the women who snap, just the women who are planning. All right, we got some A's. A's are ruling the night. So everyone thinks a woman a woman planning some harm. Yes, we all know what can happen when a woman starts planning some things. All right. Which moves us into our next case. Oh, okay. Hey, Reggie out there from Ohio. In this next case is coming straight out of Ohio, y'all. And I'm going to really break this case down. Okay, so let me pop the picture up there. I'm going to break this case down tonight. Because she was, and I haven't did a post on this case, but I am. But check this out. And I know some of you are going to have plenty to say, and that's fine. You should have plenty to say, but we want to keep our respectful because there is a child involved. So give me just 1 second. So let me start just telling you, breaking down this case. A mother has been arrested after police say she intentionally injected human fecal matter into her child's IV line while the child was hospitalized for suspected abuse. So while I'm bringing this up, remember this child was already in the hospital for suspected abuse. Mother shows up at the hospital on February the 6th. Allegedly, this is all alleged, hospital workers see her inject something into the baby's IV. She was allegedly successful at that first time, February the 6th, and the child's condition worsened from what he originally came into the hospital for. His condition got worse. After that, so that already suspected her, so the hospital reportedly said, okay, well, let us keep our eyes on her because his condition has gotten worse and it's only after her visit. So 2 days later, the second time, they had eyes on her. The camera was rolling to see if there was anything else that she did which was untoward or out of place. February 8th, she brought in a cup which appeared to look like human feces. She took that cup into the restroom with the syringe, put what appeared to be human fecal matter in the syringe, and was attempting to put it in the baby's, you know how you have the IV in the baby's left hand. She was attempting to inject it into the left hand, and that's when police finally spotted her, and she was arrested after that. So, authorities, again, I'm just going to go through the case. Doctors reportedly discovered the contamination in the IV line, and that's when the surveillance was started on her. Now, authorities allege the mother tampered with the medical equipment while alone with the child in the hospital room. And again, she is facing serious charges related to child abuse and assault. Let's keep in mind, the child was already in the hospital for suspected abuse. This kind of reminds me, and we've heard cases like this of, what is it, what is it? Let me spit it out, Deidre. Moonch, oh gosh, it escapes me, but it'll come to me. The disease where moms will often harm their child. I can type it in the chat. Moms will harm their children so that they can get sympathy or be the one to care for them. So I will type that. It's, hold on, guys, because it's my OCD is not going to allow me, Mushikin. My OCD is not going to allow me to keep on with this live until I give you the correct pronunciation of it. Okay. Munchausen disease. That's what I was looking for. So, Munchausen disease. Everyone say that. Munchausen disease. That is actually a disease. Chat said it wrong. Munchausen disease. That is actually a disease where people harm their children and then either want sympathy for them or try to care for them. All right. Yeah, so, but back to it. So, she was, the child was already in the hospital, talked about that for suspected abuse. Should parents under abuse investigation be left alone in a hospital with a child that is hospitalized? Should parents, I'll ask that question again. Give me some thumbs up, give me some yes, give me some no's. Should parents under abuse investigation be left alone with a hospitalized child? This just blows my mind. And if you're in Ohio, Reggie from Ohio, this took place at Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus, Ohio. So I know the doctors and the nurses work hard, and thankfully they were on top of this. But I don't think she should have been left alone. My opinion, I don't think if she was suspected of the abuse, I don't think she should have been left alone with the child. Yeah, that's... Okay. All right. So someone said they got dropped on their head as a child. And, oh, what a good angle, Alicia. She could have been doing that for some GoFundMe GoFundMe, to set up a GoFundMe account. But to do something that horrific, I mean, think about that. You could... Things like feces, we know sepsis. I mean, she was going for something a little extreme there. Yeah, allegedly, all alleged. Yeah. So yeah, that is right down the street. If you say right down the street, yeah, that is a huge hospital, beautiful hospital, and this mother has made the hospital now known for her cruelty against her own child who was already being hospitalized for the abuse. But to do something like that. Now, so let me ask you this, and the first word that comes to my mind is intimidation, and it may come to yours. Why do some abuse cases escalate even after an investigation begins or an intervention? Intervention, we've heard those cases where someone may have a restraining order, but it makes the person go even harder against them. So why do some cases escalate even after intervention begins? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, why do you think? Why does that happen? You know, you get a restraining order against someone or you try to keep them away, but yet, you know, it reminds me of a case, and I don't know if I'll do this case on here. If you've seen that, the show, Who the Thief Did I Marry? Where a woman tried to get away, and we want to keep the focus on women tonight. However, this woman was trying to escape, but after she went through all of the police restraining orders, all the formalities with the police, and this man still came back and did harm to her family. So again, this particular case happened at Nationwide Hospital in Columbus, Ohio, which is a major pediatric facility, major pediatric facility. The best care in the United States can happen at this hospital because they specialize in caring for children. And now there's a victim, a child victim, and the perpetrator and the suspect is his mother. So, all right. So the child's age and gender have not been publicly released, and we know that's for good reasons. But here's the thing. Let me say this. A judge set her bond at $250,000. Now stay with me here. Her bond was set at $250,000. Do you think she should have received the bond? Because I'm going to go a step further with this. Put in the chat. Should she have received a bond? $250,000. I know people who have gotten more for committing less. So put in the chat if you believe she should have received a bond for this type of case. Child already in the hospital for suspected abuse, allegedly perpetrated by her. Then she goes to the hospital on 2 different occasions and tries to put fecal matter into this child's IV. Should she have been given a bond? Thank you for joining. Who is that? Marilyn? Let me know where you're joining from. No bond. I agree, Candace. No bond. She should not have received the bond, and especially a bond this low. No bond. I agree. Shug 6491. I agree. No bond at all. No. I agree. And if you're just joining, thank you for joining the live. Make sure you drop where you're joining from in the chat. So yeah. Chicago. All right, Chicago. She travels solo too. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so no, I would agree, no bond in this case. But a judge granted her a bond, $250,000, and prohibited her from having unsupervised contact with minors if she posts bond. That's it. That's it. She can't have unsupervised contact with minors. If she allegedly, or this crime is alleged, but if she committed this crime, there should have been no bond. If they have enough strong evidence to think that she did, no bond, which they do have surveillance footage, no bond, and she shouldn't have, I don't care, she shouldn't have contact with anyone. Just put her in a place by herself, a cell by herself. So I'll be watching this case. She has a preliminary hearing scheduled for next week. So I really want to see what turns out in this case, but there should be no bond, and hopefully no one has bonded her out. All right, so Ohio is too lenient. I think it depends on who you are. I think, like I said, I've seen more ramifications, more bond requests and all of that for less crimes. Think about what we see every day, $250,000. And so it goes back to my original question. Do women get more sympathy in criminal cases? And this is a case against a child, and they have surveillance. So, all right, so let's get into a discussion. So this took place inside of a hospital. Not a home or private setting, because we know that there was already suspected abuse in the home. That's why the child was in the hospital. So this took place in a hospital while the child was already under medical care. Staff reported the irregularities. However, they started monitoring the mother, but there needs to be action taken. From the first, I couldn't have been a nurse who saw this, and why is she tampering with his IV? She's not a medical professional. There would be nothing that she should be doing close to that child's IV, but I'm assuming she was just kind of moving close to him, so they really couldn't figure out what she was doing. But once they did, I would have been the nurse to walk into the room. Yeah. So some women don't get sympathy. She travels to, some women don't. No, not all of them get sympathy. I also mentioned the aesthetics. Like if you look a certain way, if you present yourself in a certain way, there might be some, concessions for your case. But, this woman clearly, she should, she should not be given anything but a hard way to go. So, but this allegation is extremely rare and deeply disturbing. You don't hear many cases like this, but there are some out there. And authorities have not, again, released any motive or the child's current condition. I hope that this child recovers and can go on and have a successful childhood, a joyful childhood. I don't know what was coming out of my mouth, but at any rate, yeah. So, but that is, is extremely disturbing. Extremely disturbing. You've heard of people, giving people, what is that? Antifreeze. Antifreeze is something that you cannot taste or you can't taste or smell. So I've heard of things like this, but when you think of something like human fecal matter, that just takes things to a whole nother level. The hospital was negligent. That brings up a broader question about hospitals and how they handle things. And so, but this case directly involves someone in a position of caregiving inside of a medical environment, a place that's supposed to be safe. And so that makes it especially shocking and concerning. You're right. If I were a family member outside of this woman who perpetrated the crime or allegedly perpetrated the crime, I would be looking at something like that. Like, why are we waiting until she does it a second time? Like, if I suspected she was doing something, against that child or towards that child, why am I going to wait and just monitor her a second time? Why not place someone in there with her, in the room with her? And that was my question. And so I'll pose that question again for the chat. Because she was suspected of the alleged abuse towards the child, should she have had unsupervised visitation with that child? Yes or no? What do you think? Yes, mothers should have rights. But again, she's suspected of alleged abuse. Should she have had unsupervised visitation with that child? And I know my first response is hell no. Hell no. However, I have to think, nurses are overworked. There's often a shortage of work or nurses on shifts. So, who's going to be there to supervise her during the visit with the child? Oh, so you guys said no. But I just, so if you said no, that she shouldn't have had unsupervised visits, we know, again, shortage of nurses. Who's going to be in there with her? It's easy just to say, put another nurse in there with her. Alicia, I didn't hear if she was on substance or if there was anything that they thought about her. So the case didn't get that deep. But I'm also going to say this. Here's me coming up with, if the nurses had to go in there and check on the child, that would have been the only opportunity she would have had for visitation. So if we said, hey, the PM nurse comes in at 3 or 4 o'clock, you can come in then for those 5 minutes. That's how I would have handled that. She should have, in my opinion, she should not have had unsupervised visits with that child at all. Period. Point blank. All right. Yeah, I mean, oftentimes, if you're working as a nurse, you think a parent is going in there. They're going in there because they want to nurture their child. But again, in this case, this particular parent was already suspected of the alleged abuse of the child. So I think this should have been handled a little differently. This is not a typical parent going in to visit their child. She's already been suspected of alleged abuse. She should have had to go in there with someone at all times. She shouldn't have been allowed to go by herself. Okay, so let's security. Oh, T. Fletcher, I agree. Yeah, security should have had to walk her in there. Yes, just like they do if someone is incarcerated. If they allow those visits and you come and see someone or however that goes, you need to be with someone in security. And I agree with that, because a nurse, who knows? Hell, I mean, I don't know people's mental capacity. She might have tried to stab the nurse with something. I see a lot of crazy cases, so I don't know. As the nurse, yeah, I would have wanted security. Yeah, I agree, Alicia. No visits at all, especially if you're suspected of any type of abuse. And so, I know that hospitals have strict monitoring for a reason, for things like this. And here, surveillance may have prevented further harm, but there was already some harm done. Luckily, the child was able to recover a little from the first time, only to be almost contaminated the second time. So it's a stark reminder about the importance of checks and balances. Checks and balances. And again, I say I agree. Security should have went with her. All right. Now, I know that, when parents are suspected of abuse, usually, there's DCF involved, all of those things. So, again, we'll move on from that. So, do you think it's because we have a whole generation of young nurses that may, just be too busy? I don't want to say doing other things, but do you think that wisdom that came maybe from the baby boomers could have prevented some of this? Or do you think we just a young generation, there's a young generation in the hospital and nurses? That's the comment now, that we have too much young people work at the hospitals. They really don't have time to check the patients. Some of that could be true. Yes, Meryl, some of that could be true, but I also think it's burnout. Nurses are burnt out. I liken it similar to teachers and educators. They're burnt out. They're tired, and you need to ask them to do one more thing, and they may walk out of the door altogether. It's a slippery slope. It really is, because the turnover, the shortages. Yes, they get paid a heck of a lot of money, but they earn their paychecks when they're dealing with the public. And people coming into hospitals in all different types of conditions, and we know that there are some very good nurses out there and some nurses that are just overwhelmed themselves. So but this was something that, like I said, we think about viral infections and things going around. So she was injecting something like this, which could cause infection, sepsis, and some serious medical complications, and death. So this goes far beyond the normal realm of just, harming a child. He'd already been harmed. This is just a whole nother level of psychotic behavior. Yeah. So, yeah. So there are a lot of factors that go in. All right, so let me say this, because we know with every case, all right, this is our call and response moment, because every story has a moment. Every story, every case has a moment. Go ahead and type it in the chat. If you've been with me, you know this call and response, because every story has a moment when it goes too far. All right, so if you're new here, that is our call and response. As we go through our cases, we always kind of interject our call and response, which is because every story has a moment when it goes too far. So I'm going to say that again, and go ahead and pop that in the chat, because every story has a moment. All right. And what makes these stories hard isn't just the violence or the loss. Is that so many of these stories took place in like ordinary spaces, like, a daycare center, somewhere where you dropped your children off, a hospital. And let's even go a step further to talk about the cases that I covered on Tuesday. These stories took place in a locker room, a football coach, a shared home. Another case that I talked about earlier, or someone going to look for a job. Okay, so just think about those things. These are ordinary spaces, ordinary places people go to or frequent. places that we don't expect to encounter danger. All right, so these stories aren't here to scare us. Most definitely, they're not here to scare us, although they're scary. They're here to remind us to pay attention, to speak up sooner, to walk away when something feels off. You know that gut feeling? Yeah, that's something telling you something is not right. So act and react if necessary. To check on people who go quiet. We had the case earlier where the roommate, that was on Tuesday, if you joined the live, where the roommate walked past his deceased roommate for 38 days and covered her with blankets and opened a window. So if like I said, if you see your neighbor every day but all of a sudden they're missing, call someone. It's okay to call 911 and keep it anonymous and just say, hey, someone, I believe, I don't see them. I used to see them quite frequently. So just as a reminder, check on the people that you love and even people that you may not know, and check on people that especially go quiet. Check on those that go quiet. To take small moments seriously before they become irreversible ones. I saw something today that said, treat everybody that you love and like it's brand new. And I actually, I want to live by that more often, to treat everything like it's brand new. So that way we don't become robotic, automatic. We actually cherish the moments that we spend with those that we love. All right, so if you take anything from tonight, let it be this. Not every turning point is dramatic. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. And sometimes it's inconvenient. But that moments matter. And I just said that. Moments matter, especially that you spend with people that you love or that you like or care about. So thank you for sitting with these stories tonight. They were some heartbreaking stories, especially because they involve children. And thank you for engaging respectfully because they did involve children. And thank you for being part of a conversation that doesn't just react, but it reflects. And I hope that everyone will take something for these stories tonight. We will continue this next time. So stay aware, stay human. Again, we don't want people just being desensitized to what's happening in this world. And take care of yourselves and each other, because we know every story has a moment. And if you're new to the live, thank you for joining us. I'm here Tuesdays and Thursdays. And so I want to say I will be back on Tuesday, but that following Thursday, I'm just putting it out there. I'm an educator, and with educators, there's conference night. And so there will be a Thursday that I won't be joining the live, but I will try to add another day, either that Wednesday or Friday. But, I'm never really too far. You can see me on TikTok with the post of these stories in different cases, as well as on YouTube. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure you like and subscribe and tell a friend, because we're not just breaking down the cases. We are actually imparting some life lessons with them. So if you enjoyed the live, continue to join us. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you to everyone who joined. And if you were new in the live tonight, make sure you add and let me know. Add your rep your city, rep your town, or not town. Is that antiquated? That's old school. Rep your town, rep your city, rep your state. Let me know where you joined from. If you didn't do that earlier in the chat. So as someone said earlier, I'm gonna go ahead and depart with my vampire music. Have a good night, everyone. Yes, when it goes too far.